Welcome, y'all. My name is Riddle, and I'm here with Sunnyfall today to talk Battle Cats. You know that fantastical literary kitty cat romp named Warriors that welcomed us into the forest as kids, and to this day refuses to let us leave, no matter how hard we try. But we're not discussing the series in general today. No. We're here to talk about the fandom at large and how Sunny herself fits into it. Say hello, Sunny.
Hello!
Yeah! Alright, so this is the second piece in what I hope to make a bit of a series run, talking with popular Warrior Cats content creators about their experiences in fandom, basically as a larger exploration of how the community has evolved over time. As the purveyors of everything from animation and artistry to fiction and analysis, they're responsible for making the fandom what it is today. And I, for one, honestly just love to hear their stories. So, if anyone's listening, any prospective interest, just hit me up on Twitter @AnsweredRiddle, and let's chat. But, that's neither here nor there. Last time I spoke with Moon, who is a very well-established member of the community, and has been a popular online figure for several years now. Today, I'm talking to a relatively fresh face to the content creating scene, as she only started uploading videos last December. But that doesn't mean she's any less equipped, however. Sunnyfall is a rising star in the analytical branch of our fandom and is quickly gaining popularity on YouTube. She's tackling a wide array of topics, ranging from character explorations and literary themes to the deconstruction of arcs and dissection of books long past. Not only that, Sunny's taken it upon herself to rewrite The Power of Three in its entirety with Paws of Stars, so she's been pretty busy over the past year. I really cannot thank her enough for coming on. She's been a joy to talk to in planning this and is an absolute saint for patiently weathering my scheduling difficulties over the past month. Please subscribe to her, y'all. She more than deserves your attention. And, just before we get started, as a quick disclaimer for the audience, once again, we are not interested in entertaining drama here. This series is supposed to be a celebration of the fandom and its creators, not a rehash of online discourse. This is all about good, clean fun, so I hope y'all are mindful of that. That in mind, let's talk cats. Okay. Sunny, so as a little look-see into when we're actually recording this, you just uploaded your 2,500 subscriber special a few hours ago, and you are rapidly nearing 80,000 channel views. First off, congratulations on being awesome. That is a really good accomplishment.
I actually had no idea how many channel views I had.
Yeah, you are like 78,000 or somewhere. And second, how's it feel to have reached so many people within under just 6 months? Because you uploaded December 11th, so yeah, it's under 6 months.
Yeah, absolutely astounding. I wasn't expecting this at all. I really just started off as something that I felt like doing with my time, and I thought, maybe after a year or two, someone will notice me. And
yeah, I would say you made a pretty big splash, like just immediately. Like you made like several thousand views already.
Yeah. It was a little overwhelming because I had originally started off by spending 2 months just making those first 3 videos, so I would have some time to get used to my schedule and make sure that the video every 2 weeks would work. So I had already made those 3 before I posted anything. And I mean, by the second video, it was just, oops, okay, I need to put in an announcement here, but I've already finished my 4th video at this point. I guess I'll tell them in my 5th. I don't know. I wasn't preparing for things to go this quickly. I thought I would be fine.
I mean, I would say you're doing pretty fine.
Certainly. There's a certain amount of responsibility that comes with it. There are a whole lot of fandom issues that have come to my attention since then. I've been opened up to a much wider array of creators than I ever knew before. Mm-hmm. And even things like the new releases, there are people within the first couple days who are asking me to do a video on it, and my videos take 2 weeks to make. So it's like, well, oops.
I mean, like, 2 weeks in general, though, is still, like, that's a really good time-wise. Like, I have a question later on so we can just broach it in greater detail, but said, just tear down my face right now, but just, I've had a project in mind since last year, and I'm just like, I'll get to it eventually. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, projects are a beast. I was in procrastination time with Paws of Stars for roughly 4 months before, between the outlining phase of all the chapters and when I actually started writing the darn thing. It's mostly, I ended up treating myself like my own student. I'm training to be a teacher, and I just sort of had to start setting deadlines for myself, giving myself tiny rewards or punishments. I'm pretty much operant conditioning myself. It's great fun.
I mean, like, honestly, I could do that. I need to learn to do that, because I'm like, oh, I could do that. No, I'm just like, no, not today. I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Nope, nah, it's not coming. Not happening. But like, that's really good. I really hope you like just feel proud of yourself, because you have done a lot of good work, like really right off the bat. And just as a little disclaimer, I listened to the special a little while ago, so I don't think I'll be retreading too much territory here, question wise, because mostly I just want to focus on creators themselves and their processes and just their relationship with the community, rather than any personal opinions on characters and arcs. But I do apologize if I do wind up rehashing anything.
No problem there.
Okay. Let's get down to brass tacks. So Sunny, tell me about yourself. What do you do? What is your channel like? And what is it like being 100% correct in headcanoning Hollyleaf as asexual? Because I like that. I love that. That's good. That is good. I love that headcanon.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I feel absolutely right and gratified that other people notice I'm correct. This is the one opinion I have that is not opinion. It's a fact.
It is fact.
Now, to be fair, Hollyleaf does have a large array of she-cats and one singular Tom around her that might arguably be taking interest. Willowshine, Hazeltail, Cinderheart, some people say Icecloud or Heathertail. Plenty of cats come to mind. But the fact is, they're all one-way relationships. They're crushes on a beautiful lady who doesn't need any of you. And it's lovely.
She is fine by herself. Like, she's just soaking up that attention. And she loves it, but she don't need all y'all. She's good by herself.
Absolutely. Putting that aside, I would probably best describe myself as an analyst. Pretty much every other skill set that I need for my videos was rapidly learned within the last 6 months. And I wasn't very good before that. I still don't really consider myself an artist solely because, and not because of my skill level, for the record. You can be an artist at any skill level. But I wasn't putting in the time to practice ever. I didn't have as much of a passion in that as I did in some of my other interests. So I didn't classify myself as an artist for that reason. And I had done very little practice and had to rapidly learn everything, and I'm still learning. But the analyzing stuff, I think I've got best of all my skill sets, at least. Because I've been reading these books for so long, and I pretty much every time I read a book at these points, I just jump into a chat with my friends and start live blogging it and commenting on all the inaccuracies or things I absolutely love. It ended up being a great idea because I can also go back to that later and say, oh yeah, I remember that. Now I can use that in my script.
Yeah. That's definitely a really good point for that. That said, basically, as you've said, you are a relatively new creator in the fandom, debuting in mid-December of last year. And yet you have already made a very sizable impact with your video essays and Power of 3 rewrite. So that said, what's your experience with the fandom as a whole, and what spurred you to begin creating content now?
Yeah, okay. I've been reading these books since 2009 or so, but I didn't actually get into the fandom especially deep, or at least I didn't start interacting with it until roughly 2017. I'd been in a couple fringe roleplay groups across the world since I started reading the series, but they were always pretty small. The people either weren't caught up with the books or just didn't want to discuss canon extensively, so it was pretty much just me in my room reading these books.
I can relate to
But
that.
around 2017, I started actively seeking out and seeing Warriors content on YouTube. And soon after, thanks to a recommendation from a friend and a series of fortunate events, not unfortunate.
not that book series. We're good. This is a happy. This is happy.
In 2018, I wound up in a couple Warriors discussion groups, and that really helped spur me on to think and rethink my own opinions. Mm-hmm. I always knew, for instance, that Omen of the Stars is my favorite arc, and also that it was seriously flawed in many ways that I could briefly go over in my mind. But since I'd never needed to tell anyone about it, I'd never needed to defend my opinions, I also never bothered to parse out in detail the exact strings that made the arc bad, or how they still interweave to make something I loved. Mm-hmm. But obviously, I didn't start making videos in 2018. And in all honesty, the catalyst was probably the pandemic.
Yeah, that's fair. But I think that was a catalyst for a lot of things.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It had just been like 4 months sitting alone in my house, and I needed to be doing something. And I had already made the outlines for a possible Power of Three Omen of the Stars rewrite at some point. So it just gave me a chance to work on those fully, and that started me on the mind track where I thought, wow, I really want to be discussing these thoughts behind these books. YouTube, I
guess. That is true. Like, I have had a very similar thought process. Like, basically around the same time, I really love Warriors' fandom. I have no idea what to talk about because a lot of people have got like this pretty down pat. So I'm like, oh, you know what? I want to do a retrospective of the fandom. And that's way bigger project than I thought. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to start smaller and talk with fandom creators about why they got into the fandom. Because I think that's the most interesting aspect. Seeing why people love this series and how just so much talent.
There is so much talent everywhere.
It really is. It's honestly amazing. Like how you said, I have been more of a lurker in the fandom. Like, I used to be more active, like, in middle school / early high school, but kind of just fell out, and just started mainly just watching some YouTube videos every now and then. And then I just started watching more and more around 2018 when, what was that called? Five Giants. When Five Giants came out.
Yes.
I was like, that just reignited, like, oh my god, so many people are so talented in this fandom.
It made me cry. My goodness.
It's so good. I'm like, yeah, that's why I want to talk with folks like y'all, because I'm like, there's so many talented, really interesting people, and I think you are very much one of them, because you really are breaking this down really interestingly, and it's just really fun to listen to your videos, man. Like, it's good stuff.
I'm happy you enjoy it. I'm happy many people apparently enjoy it.
Yeah, like I said, I think you're a rising star in this fandom. You're gonna go far. But then also, it was just something interesting I noted, because I saw that your account was made in about 2011, I think.
Yeah.
Was this just like a completely refurbished account, or did you have any other content before it?
I never regularly posted content before this, but there were a couple sporadic Warriors music videos and random animations and stuff that I'd made. All of that is unlisted now because as soon as I got the idea to make a YouTube channel, I said, great, I never want anyone to see this stuff again.
That's fair. I know, like, Moon said she has some videos unlisted too.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I remember when I was a wee little child, because I've always had a bit of an interest in video editing. So I was like, oh, I'm going to make a Warriors video. And, like, it was just totally just took all this fabulous art that people had made. And I'm like, oh,
Yes.
I was a baby. I did not realize this was a boo-boo error. 2007 was a weird, very strange time. And I'm just like, I'm glad that that account is buried in the annals of YouTube history. Annals of YouTube history. I'm like, I don't... But yeah.
I don't know the exact dates, but there was definitely one in, I believe, 2012, and then another one in probably 2014 or 15, where I had made a Nightclad Crowfeather music video to the Taylor Swift song Change. For the record, stealing everyone's art.
I guess that's fair.
I can't find any of it now, and it was 2011, and I was a toddler. No, I was not really a toddler, but I was a tiny youngin'.
We were babies. Like,
so a lot of it was just like random black cats that had nothing to do with Nightclad or Crow.
It's okay. You get the idea. It's all about inspiration. There is no
It is. The timing was good. I liked my timing. Good job, baby Sunny.
Hell yeah.
I completely off topic now, but I also just remembered a second music video I made with Blue Star to No Good Deed, imagining that as the moment she breaks and loses her faith with StarClan as the culmination of all the deaths she's seen in her life and betrayals and stuff.
Honestly, that is a fabulous idea. Like, that song would go really, really well with her, I think.
I really, really liked it, except for the fact that I didn't draw an ounce of it, and I felt so bad.
Yeah, it's like, it's weird looking back on those older videos. Like, it's basically just now a time capsule of so much really, really, really old art. Like, how do you describe your relationship with Warriors as a series? When did you first begin reading it, and what keeps you coming back?
I briefly went through parts of this in the Q&A video, but not the whole thing. So it was third grade. Our class had these monthly reading days. We probably had a better name for it, but I can't remember it now. When the class would all come in our pajamas, and we'd bring in all our pillows and blankets and stuffed animals and make pillow forts with the desks and just read all day. Usually with books from the school library, and we'd swap with friends. It was lots of fun.
That sounds really cute and really fun, honestly.
It was beautiful. Third grade was one of my favorite years in elementary school. It opened up this community of sharing books between classmates, and one of my friends, I couldn't tell you which one because it very quickly became all of us, showed me a Warriors book. I'm pretty sure it was Firestar's Quest. Oh, wow. I liked the cat on the cover, and I trusted their recommendations. So I just checked out the whole first arc from the library in one go and read them, and then read them again and again. And I kind of just checked out that series over and over for my entire elementary school life.
That is absolutely valid. I feel that 100%.
I can't remember now what made me like it so much at that point, but it stuck with me for over a decade now. And at some point, one of them said, "Hey, you know there are other books besides those first 6, right?" And I said, "Really?" And then I had to journey out into the town library.
Oh, no.
Eventually, I also started buying them sometimes.
I feel that. I first came across Warriors in Barnes & Noble because my parents love to read, and I was just like, I kept just looking through the kids section, and I saw these really cool books because I think this was about, I want to say 2005, 2006.
Yeah.
So like I think the first series had just finished, and was on to it had just finished, and I just saw this really cool book with a really cool characters looking cast, and it was A Dangerous Path. And I'm just like, I don't know what are book numbers. I don't care. I'm just going to pick this up and start reading. And then I did. I understood nothing of it, But apparently I loved it enough to ask my parents to get the entire first series for Christmas that year, because it'd been like only a few weeks later. So I was like, I totally feel that.
Yeah. I really loved the world. The particular stories sort of stopped mattering after a while, because I stuck with the first series specifically for so long, like a couple of years straight, that the story became very just natural and normal to me. But the world itself had just this large cast of intermingling, unique characters, and they can inhabit and even change their world, and the possibilities were practically endless. Mm-hmm. And I very quickly got into the world of role play with my classmates in the tiny grassland section of our behind the school playground area. We would just 20 third graders funnel into this tiny table-sized stretch of grassland with a rock there, and one of us would stand on the rock and say, "Hi, let all older cats catch enough to pray. Join Pie Rock Clan meeting, yay!" Okay,
that is just so adorable. Like, I've heard folks talk about, like, oh, they had a group of kids who would role play warriors, like, in, like, real life, not, like, just on the forums. And I'm just like, yeah. I wish I had that. I was a baby. No one had that, but I'm like, I
only had it for that 1 year, but it was beautiful, and I adore those moments.
That is a beautiful year, I'm not gonna lie.
On a more specific level, and probably getting closer to why I actually read it now, almost every arc and story that comes out has, at the very least, an extremely cool premise that could be made into a beautiful story. And just reading the opening book of an arc could convince you that almost every arc is great. You can read the opening book and imagine exactly where this can go and how all of these characters can flourish and change the world for the better, and it's really, really cool. So even when the plots do fall apart along the way, broken code, that initial potential is never lost for me. It lives on as a possible world and story where things went better, and where Bristlefrost did not lose all her sanity and personality and meet up with Root Spring.
I'm just like, I'm so sad, and that makes me so sad, because, like, a big part of the reason, because, like, I've read up to the third book. I kept seeing just, like, oh, she loses all agencies, basically, like, in the fourth book, because she is just, like, so enamored with Root Spring. I'm just like,
she was so good. She was in the running to be one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, she was more of how I wanted Ivypool to be, like, more like of someone really believing that I am doing the right thing for my clan, for my fellow cats, and then just realizing
there were so many elements to her that were amazing. Like, I actually really, really loved her initial romance with Stemleaf, because the idea of this innocent young cat who chases this fairy tale dream with the handsome Prince Stemleaf, and them getting together and living happily ever after as the best warriors in the clan. But having that immediately ripped to shreds in several ways. She goes to get her warrior ceremony early, and she fails just out of random circumstance. There isn't enough prey to catch. She immediately becomes a warrior soon after, but she proposes to Stemleaf, and he says, no, actually, I like someone else. She's getting in favor with her clan leader, but her clan leader is kind of evil and making her do things that she doesn't want to do. It's a deconstruction of this archetype that I was really looking forward to. And the natural conclusion to that would be her learning to make her own decisions about what the world should be, and becoming someone independent of the cats around her, able to make decisions for herself. And instead, she just fell back on a different cat who was younger than her and who she didn't like, and oopsie daisy.
Yeah, like, I think it was Moon Kitty who said that, I can't remember what video she said it in, but basically, like, Root Spring is basically set up to be exactly like Bristlefrost. She, like, has a picture in his head of this character he has a crush on, and then he has to learn to grow beyond that, and Bristlecross could have helped him do that. But
oh, wait, yeah, that was me.
Oh, that was you! Never mind.
I completely forgot I made that video. Whoops.
That was my fault. I'm sorry. Like, I know you and Moon have talked about it. I'm just like...
We absolutely have.
I'm just like, I know someone talked about it.
We had massive arguments when those books came out.
Oh, no.
My gosh. It sort of just became a big yell fest in our group chat.
That honestly makes sense. It's like, you had so much potential and you
could have been great. Why did you choose this?
I'm just like, I think one of the best points and most interesting points Moon made in the interview I had with her was that the biggest problem, like in terms of the writing of the series, is that no one thinks of it as their baby. It's not something that's a passion project. It's a moneymaker.
Yeah.
And just like all of these cool ideas never get the real flourish or like just any time that they need to really fully develop. So they fall back.
Because the goal isn't making a fantastic product. It's making a product that will be standard enough to appeal to the masses and stay in line with what the series has done, which means big changes are pretty much out of the question.
Yeah, and that's just such a weakness in writing the series at all, because you're never gonna grow beyond like some of the initial folks. Like, it's just really sad to see, because like, I think there's a lot of potential for the series that just gets continually choked by this need to stick to what's been established, stick to the moneymaker, don't really go too far out of left field. And it's just...
I'm eventually going to make a video on this point as well, but there are just so many holdups the series has by... and not even shying away from ideas, but sticking so closely to its roots. The original arc partially, and especially the New Prophecy, they dragged every inch of blood out of that arc they could, and they are still going in it now.
Just like, Squirrel Flight. Like, I love Squirrel Flight, but I should have died.
Squirrel Flight, lovely character, but my goodness, they have dragged out her pain as far as it will possibly go in a million different ways, and she just needs to stop suffering, please. Let her retire in peace.
Just let her retire. Just let her be a respected elder, and maybe, like, if they gotta do anything, because, like, of course, they gotta cycle through characters, let her have a little sandstorm kind of moment. Like, have a last hurrah, have a meaningful last little book, not, like, taking up too much of the spotlight, but still being a good figure.
Send her off nicely.
Exactly. Like, you don't have to just...
Don't just forget about her.
Or make her suffer.
Don't put her through another arc of pain, please.
It's like, these people just, they got it really out for her. Like, no matter all of these writers, I'm like, who hurt you? What did she do to you? Why do you dislike flying squirrels? Unfortunately, we've also I'm just like, I'm going to keep this more on topic this time. I'm like, nope, I have not done that.
It's really derailed.
That's okay. A little follow-up I had to, like, part of that was... Did you ever, like, fall out of interest with Warriors? Because you said you really got introduced to it in 3rd grade. Did anything make you fall out of interest with Warriors for a while?
I noticed there was a big drop in the fandom right around the end of Omen of the Stars.
Yeah.
A lot of people seem to stop around then and sort of start to come back around the beginning of Avos. Mm-hmm. I definitely wasn't one of these people. I stuck with it the whole darn time, and I kept reading these books the day they came out. I just had less and less people to talk to about it and felt very sad.
Yeah, like, I remember I was one of those people with Omen of the Stars. Like, I think I didn't get to Hollyleaf's Return. I know that much. Yeah. I think it was either the 3rd or 4th book. I think I mentioned that to you.
Night Whispers, I believe.
Yeah, Night Whispers. I think I got through that, because I remember Flametail dying. I don't remember anything the book after that.
Yep. Well, I mean, to be fair, the next book was Sign of the Moon, where they derailed the plot entirely to just say, let's go to the mountains again, go back in time and make Half Moon the Stone Teller for no reason whatsoever.
I think that was it.
Yeah, Sign of the Moon. Yeah, it has nothing to do with the plot at all. It's great. I can't help but wondering, well, okay, I should preface this with, I'm currently rereading Avos now. I'm in the middle of Thunder and Shadow, and I already hate the arc again.
Oh no!
Now, the first book was perfectly fine up until the end, where the clans started arguing about Twig Kid and Violet Kid. Then I started to hate everyone. But for the entirety of Thunder and Shadow, I've just been screaming at these cats over and over. But I did also wonder if some of my distaste for this series is due to the fact that I didn't lose interest in them. I was still reading the books, but there was absolutely no one I was talking to about them by the time that Avos was coming out. So I can't help but wonder if some of the nostalgia was lost from there, and therefore I don't have as much love for the arc. But also it sucks, so I don't mind that much.
Like, I think those are some fighting words for some of the community, because I know like a lot of people like Thunder and Shadow, and especially Shattered Sky.
Okay. I mean, I haven't gotten to Shattered Sky yet, but I know the one thing that everyone's super gotten back to Shattered Sky yet. I did read it originally, but I know the one thing that everyone really loves about Shattered Sky, the big battle with One Star and the Revelations and Darktail and all that. I'm already not going to like it because it undermines the entire point of One Star from TNP through Omen of the Stars. It just. It's bad. I don't like it.
Like, I didn't like the One Star reveal because I hate One Star. I want him dead.
I wasn't super attached to One Star before either, but the one thing holding me onto him as a character was that they at least attempted to give him some sort of transition period where he didn't necessarily want to become a brutal leader, but it's what he felt he had to become post Mudclaw's death in order to be respected by all of Wing Clan together. And there's even a very short scene in Eclipse where One Star and Firestar get to talk, and Firestar kind of gives up on ever forming a friendship with One Whisker as he knew him, and gives up on that cat that he was absolutely certain was good back in the first series. So that transition period is really important for the beats to have any emotional effect. And Shattered Sky just says, no, actually, he was a bad cat all along. He's been abandoning his family and having kids with kitty pets and ignoring all of us and leaving Darktail to die. And this was just always part of him. There is no transition. He was always evil. Haha.
Yeah.
It's just, you have lost the one grain of truth about you.
Yeah, like I think the thing that would have been really interesting, like how you said with that scene in Eclipse, if someone had called him out on saying, Tolstar wanted you to be this, he made you deputy specifically because he wanted friendship, and then you kind of ruined it. And that would have given his character a lot more depth. But they just basically made him Mudclaw 2.0 without really thinking about it. And that comes to mind especially because I know the new little comic came out. I have not read it. I've just seen I read like the excerpt that was available online, and it seems like the comics lately have been just knocking it out of the park.
They have. They've actually been super good.
And I'm just like, it sounds so much more interesting having that dynamic where One Whisker isn't a jerk. Like,
the thing is, I love the comic, but I do wish they'd leaned a little bit more into admitting his ambition, because Mudclaw in canon, even before New Prophecy, clearly showed some ambition. And if while we were in his mind, he ever slipped up and admitted that just a little bit, we could understand that is a sort of underlying motivation here. And it's not just out of manipulated morals towards Wing Clan. He's not just trying to protect them. He also really wanted that leadership and was denied it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas One Star was someone who clearly never expected or wanted a leadership, but got thrust into it anyway, and took Mudclaw as a person he looked up to immediately. He asked him to be his deputy. He asked for his advice. And when he wanted to be leader without him, his choice was to emulate Mudclaw's aggressiveness.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if this comic had gone just a tad bit more into the ambition side, it would have given the dynamic a more retroactive interest. But TNP's long dead. Let's just let it lie.
Just let it lie. Like, oh god. I won't delve deeper into that because then we'll just get even more derailed. It's just a lot of general sadness with that.
Yeah, I feel like every time I start talking about Warriors, my immediate thought is just, okay, so how do we rewrite it so it's not as bad?
I think that is a very valid point, because I'm like, there's so much integral potential for this world.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of tossed away.
Yeah.
Like, I think the original series is by far my favorite. It's the one I'm most nostalgic for, even though I do admit its flaws. Like, I remember I read through my original copy of Into the Wild so many times, it fell apart in my hands. It just ripped apart. There was nothing left.
Yeah.
Because it was just a paperback. But
it's a solid little story.
Yeah.
I mean, I have my qualms with it, but it's a cute little tale, and it has a lot of beautiful moments.
Mm-hmm. And it's just like, I know it can reach that potential. But I think it might have been Avalon Roslin who mentioned it. It's just like, I think, like, most times, like, when you're writing a book, you have a couple of years to, like, just have this pre-production phase. Like, probably the first series was in production, just formulating all of these concepts and such of that nature and drafting it way before we ever got to see it. And then it's just never had that time because they're like, you got to get a new book out.
Just keep going. Come on.
There's no time. Like, even though there are good ideas, they don't have the time to flourish or develop because, like, we don't have the time for this. Gotta go. And it's sad. But
very sad.
Yeah, like, going back to Saturday Sky, like, I totally get that frustration, like, with One Star, and just because that was a sticker to me, like, but I loved Needletail, and I loved the seriousness of it. And
that's true.
It was just a little bit, it was just disappointing with every book after that, like, in that arc.
Yeah.
It's just like that after the third book in a lot, like, since Dawn of the Clans, it's been like.
Yeah. Undeniably, the new team's post book 3 dip has been consistent across all 3 arcs that they wrote.
Mm-hmm.
I am fairly certain it will be true in Arc 8 too, even though I don't want it to be.
Yeah.
So the last 3 books of Avos are undeniably worse than the first 3. You can love the first 3 books easily.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, if I was taking it as its own series, completely independent from the rest of Warriors, I would probably love it a fair bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And not completely, because I don't really love post-book 1 Alderheart or Violet Shine or Twig Branch.
Mm-hmm. No, that's valid, because he lost a lot of that anxiety and what made him initially really interesting.
If he had, worked through that anxiety and come to find joy in his position, even if he wasn't the best at it, or any number of good arcs from that, he could have been one of my favorite characters. Again, Bristlefrost high. It just evaporated, and he's there now. Yay!
Just your average Warriors Medicine Cat, and same with Shadowsight. Just a lot of potential. Just they don't know what to do with it because they don't have the time to really think all this out. So they just gotta keep going.
Slap whatever they want on a page. Yeah. Let's go.
That's exactly why I'm sure like they just like, oh, we're gonna make a detour to the tribe because like we don't know what to do right now.
We need some time to think of the next part of the plot. Let's send them to the tribe.
Just like that. We just do that. We do that. Okay, this is more general, so we're gonna move a little more into the more technical stuff. But
yeah,
one of the first things I noticed about your videos was honestly just how polished they are. Just despite you only debuting in December. usually it takes a few videos for creators to really find their footing, but you basically have the formula down pat right away with character art, expressive persona reactions, and just the topical analyses. You even have a pretty good bi-weekly posting schedule, and it's clear a lot of thought went into making the channel long before you ever started uploading, and that you studied other Battle Cat creators like Moon Kitty, Tennille Flowers, and Bright Guardian Akira long before tackling this. And that in mind, can you talk about how you decided to structure your videos? Like, what inspiration do you take, why you organize them the way you do, etc.?
Yeah. First of all, I'm really happy to hear you say that. I can't say I'm a very spontaneous person. So when I just decided on a whim back in October to try making a YouTube channel, the closest thing I got to spontaneity was spontaneously deciding to make a 2-month plan to make sure I was prepared for the schedule that I was going to get into. I launched right into this as like, okay, this is a project. You are going to make it good. You are going to make it regular. Let's go. It's like my one strength as a person. I'm just very good at committing to things.
One strength, you say, as you just knock all of this stuff out of the park. Like, you gotta have more faith in yourself.
I mean, I spent 2 months making assets, studying techniques for video making, learning how to use the various equipment I had never used before. Figuring out how much work I could expect myself to do on a regular basis. I was originally planning on a weekly schedule, and I quickly realized, nope, that's not happening.
No, that's a lot of work. That's a full time. I am fully like, this is my job. This is my life.
Yeah, it's not my job yet.
Yeah.
And I ended up using that tiny 2-minute welcome video from the start of my channel, mostly as a training ground for myself, just to figure out how to do anything that I would need to run a channel. And it turned out all right. So I went back to make the first 3 episodes before I released anything. With that said, I definitely took inspiration along the way. I hadn't actually kept up with Bright Guardian Akira. Wow, thanks for talking. I hadn't kept up with her until a few months back, but she definitely inspires me on the editing front. Her videos are always extremely lively. Even if she were just using 2 static cat images, she would move them, spin them, swap them in with each other to keep the visual interest up and communicate her point. Tennille Flowers was definitely an inspiration from the get-go. I knew I wanted to do a video style with sprites in a background, similar both to his old Simmy Speaks videos and also from examples in other analysis communities I used to follow. Just because with that format, I'd be able to express both my current emotions and show the topic I was trying to convey without giving myself too much drawing work with each video and managing to keep it contained to a 2-week period. Tennille's specific poses were really great for giving me an idea of just how far you could stretch a cat to give them human emotions. There are certain things that cats just can't do in comparison to humans. I can't have a crying sprite. I can't have her... I can't even describe what I'm doing right now with my hand. There are multiple things that cats can't do that humans can, but there are also things that cats can do that humans can't, and they end up conveying way more emotion than I thought. I've definitely been improving on the sprites as I went along. Generally speaking, if I'm going through a video and I find an emotion that I can't communicate with any of my current sprites, I just note it down and draw it with that week's drawing assets and add it to the pose collection. And a while back, I ended up adding tail movements to all of them. So like when she was getting nervous or sad or worried, I would have her wrap her tail around her front. If she was getting excited or saying hello, I would have her wag her tail. And
I think that was something I was just thinking of. Like, I think that's super cute when she wags her tail. It's like,
yeah. I spent so dang long on that one tail animation. I was trying to figure out how to communicate movement with a sprite. And I tried several different styles because everything from like anime to various Western styles all end up doing movement differently. And it just kept looking wrong with my styles. So I ended up doing this sort of mishmash of all of them with this half opacity thing and this low opacity, somewhat erased out outline of the tail on either side just to make it look right. I'm really happy with it now, but I was screaming at it at the time.
It's always a learning process.
Oh yeah.
Like, I am not an artist. Like, I will draw sometimes, but like this is not a craft I am really dedicated to. I just like to do it as a hobby. But like, I think that was really fun. It just always, it's like, oh, she's so cute. I love
it. Yeah. Moon and a couple other of my friends. She doesn't call herself an artist, but she is an artist.
She is. Just the new video she posted 2 days ago? Friday? No, yesterday.
Yesterday? Yeah. Yesterday is Friday.
Yeah, yesterday is Friday, and to be clear to the listeners, because this is going to take a while to edit, but it's the meme with all of the like mother-child sort of thing, like the relationships meme. That was it.
Yeah. She's a phenomenal artist, but she and a whole bunch of my other artist friends, I would just keep sending them random samples of my cat heads and get critiques on it so I could get slowly better over time, because I had never tried to work on my art before, so it had to get good really quick before it was something I was willing to post.
I mean, I think you've done a really, really good job.
Thank you. She definitely inspires me a lot as a creator, both with her consistency and the seriousness that she goes into her work with, even though a lot of it is comedy. She definitely has a lot of cat opinions that I like to bounce off of with our other friends. I mean, I wasn't planning to follow her into her exact realm of video creation because I have never stepped foot in animation and I don't want to, and I'm also not particularly good at comedy.
The first things viewers see when clicking on your videos is Sunnyfall, who is your warrior's OC and just established persona. Like I said, she's really cute, and I just wanted to ask a little about her. Why did you design her the way you do, I guess, as Calico? And does she have like any background as a clan or history to her, or is she just more of just like a representation, just like a figurehead?
I've definitely gone through a whole bunch of OCs throughout the years. Like I've mentioned a few times, I was in a lot of role play, and I ended up designing a barrage of OCs, but most of them were very strictly within the story and not me. So when it came to YouTube, I suddenly needed a persona of my own, and I didn't feel comfortable just repurposing one of my characters because I feel like they have their own lives, they have their own personalities and destinies, and I don't want to steal that from them. You can go live in your own clans. So I wanted to start off with just a blank slate, and my top 2 priorities were making her bright and cute, and making her relatively simple in her shapes, because I wanted to be able to draw her in a variety of poses and have her shape language mostly show through. I just really like the upwards cheek fluffs. I thought they showed a fair bit of energy and niceness. I'm not an artist. It looked good.
I think it looks cute. I think it looks cute. It's just like a smile, sort of. It's just like an upturned smile kind of thing.
It ends up making her look like a nice, happy person, even when she's doing the sad expressions, because it's like a regretful smile, regretful frown in a way. And when it came to the coloring, I really, really like bright, saturated colors, and they don't tend to work on cats, because cats are not usually things like blue, chartreuse, teal, any of my go-to colors on other things. But the bright color you can have is orange, and I said, that sounds great.
The contrast between the dark brown and the orange actually looks really good, I think.
Yeah, I started off with just an orange cat, and then I didn't want to do any tabby stripes, partially because I detest tabby stripes. And I detest drawing them anyway. They're just...
I think that's like where a lot of my love and appreciation for this community is. I'm just like,
you guys are so talented and dedicated.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh.
So many talented people. I'm just like...
There's such a massive map community, and all of you are actually good in animation and like doing it, and what the heck? How did we get all of you?
Yeah, like, and exactly, and like, how you said, like, they're all good. I'm like, not all of them, like, everyone has to start from somewhere, and like, they all get good, way more words. They get better, and you can see their progress over time, and it is fascinating to see someone
worked so hard on this stuff, and it's like, wow.
Yeah, like, Moon producing, I want to say, like, the Lion Blaze versus Russet Fur little fight. I think that was her first unlisted, like, the first listed video animation she did, like, in 2014, I want to say. And I'm like, she has come so far. She's figured out her style. This is just turning into a Moon Kitty appreciation video. Thank you.
But I did want some features to be enunciated. I wanted her muzzle and tail and paws especially to be accented and for them to be fun to move around in front of the body. But I also had a big thing for asynchronicity, primarily because I really like seeing synchronous things. I don't have OCD, but I do appreciate order. I really, really like things to be lined up. I enjoy spending hours organizing things, but when it comes to me, I don't think I actually am as organized as that. I think I'm reaching for a perfection that doesn't exist, and I want to acknowledge that.
That's fair.
So,
that's fair.
Not one of her paws has the marking at the same height. The white is on the diagonal paws. The dark brown is on the diagonal paws, but the two left sides, I want to say, are fairly short at different heights. One's just on her toes, one's just up to her ankle. And the ones on the right side, I want to say, are like mid-waist and up to, I don't know, what's between your ankle and knee, that area. Thigh, probably, the middle of the thigh. Yes. So keeping that asynchronous in there, and then painting one side of her face with the dark brown, kept the asynchronicity, and also put all three of the colors in her face to show this sort of harmony thing and balance the whole design. Her tail tip was originally just white, but I added the dark brown strip on there just to tie it together, so there was some brown everywhere. I like it. That was all designed in October. I had never had her before that. The only backstory I have for her, other than just it's me, but as a cat, is that she clearly lives in RiverClan. She is a RiverClan cat. She has the fluffy tail, and the fluffy tail with the point helps her navigate through rivers. Aww. She enjoys rivers. She will spend all of her time in rivers. If she has an opportunity, she will take her fish to the river and eat there instead, because the camp is just too dry.
I need to be immersed in water. I need to be thriving. Like,
I like my water.
I like my water on me.
I have to imagine if someone ever irks her, if someone gets angry, she just says, "Hold on a minute," and she goes to spend an hour soaking in the pool.
I mean, that is relatable. That is relatable. I'm just like, I cannot deal with this. I do not want to deal with anyone. I just need to be...
I'm going to go sit in my pool. And she keeps shells and feathers and stuff, because that's what RiverClan cats are supposed to do, gosh darn it.
Such a cute little addition. I'm like, they totally forgot it.
Yeah.
It's like who needs to develop these clans, and when you can just have, like, them be a generic claw.
It was all in there, and you ignored it.
It's like... I'm sure someone different wrote that. Just like,
well, they did.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that field guide wasn't even written by any of the normal errands.
Yeah,
but
and I'm just
it's
like,
your material. Look back at it, please.
Please, you've got it right there, and yet you don't use it. My frustrations are less with like Jareth Baldry or Kate Carey, just because like they are Ghost Riders.
Certainly.
They're Ghost Riders who have their names just out there. But my frustrations comes with the team. I will have words with the team if I ever meet them.
Hello, working partners.
Yes.
We'd like to have a conversation with you.
Working
It's a
partners.
conversation.
Working partners. Turn your location on, please. I just want to talk. That said, and just moving on from just how you were talking about designing Sunnyfall. What is your general thought process on drawing and designing the Canon characters?
Oh, yeah. So this is another thing that I had never started doing before October. The only cats I had ever drawn were my own OCs when I had to show them off to my friends. Mm-hmm. So it's been very quickly learned. But
it's a learning process.
Of what I do have, my general thought process is first, if they have any direct family lines I can compare to, I always like putting a little bit of shape or color in with the family dynamics. But I also really like giving each character its own identity. Like, no hate whatsoever to warm tone Jay Feathers at all. But I like cool tone Jay Feathers specifically because he has a cool attitude. He has a cold exterior. He's crisp. Mm-hmm. And that's reflected in his color palette. You can see it immediately in the sharp edges of his tabby stripes. Mm-hmm. That sort of subconscious reasoning that gets across the character's personality. Mm-hmm. This becomes slightly more difficult when I have to design people like Myrtle Paw and Sorrel Stripe.
You know nothing about.
In those cases, I just pulled up their parents, said, okay, I guess this is what you come from, and then drew any random cat and said, this is you now. Good job. Sometimes just to make it fun, I just give them manes, little cat manes. Because...
Yeah, like with God, what was his name? We just talked about Stemleaf. Like, I like his little mane. It's very cute.
With characters we actually know about, I do care very much about whether or not I give them a mane. With the background characters, I sometimes just throw it on if I'm getting bored and we know nothing about them. So you know what? You could have a mane. Who knows?
It's like, no one's saying you don't. Like,
you're fun to draw. Why the heck not? But comparing like. Let's see. Tiger Star, Stemleaf, Spot Fur, and Daisy are all cats that I've given manes, but they're very different manes. Stemleaf actually has one very similar to Bristlefrost, but in less of a heart shape. They're very thick and fluffy and come right up to the chin, and you can pretty much imagine them just cuddling down into it if they felt like it. To me, that's a symbol of strength, but also luxury. You have a very good life and you're happy in it, which was Bristlefrost before everything. That's what she was. She was content with her life, and then it was shattered before her anyway. With Spot Fur, she has a much smaller mane that pretty much just goes around her neck and then down to her chest as if it was normal chest fluff. And in her case, it's just a little puffing out of the chest mirage type thing, that she has this confidence and ability to stand up to authority figures. In Tiger Star's case, it's just this big, jagged, awful thing. There is no resting in that head. It's just a massive bit of fluff that will prevent you from ever reaching his heart or dealing damage. And in Daisy's case, there are no jagged edges of fluff at all. It's just these big, round, poofy things. And hers is just a pillow. All of the kits can sleep in her mane, and she absolutely allows that.
That is so cute, just like her snuggling up with people. I
just really love manes. I love manes so much. There's so much you can do with them.
They're really cute. Like, and you've put a lot of thought, like, just like in what you were saying now, like, that is a lot of thought. Just like, I'm just going to make these characters we have pre-established knowledge of, and just like really incorporate their character, like what we know about them, into their design. I really, really like that. Yeah. Like, that's some really cute, fun ideas. I really like that.
The story behind them is pretty much all I have to go with because, again, I was not particularly trained in aesthetic design. So when it comes to making things actually pretty, I don't necessarily know how to do that well. I don't know from the offset if a character design is going to look totally wonky or not. My toad step looks a bit like a cow, but you know what? I love him for it. He's adorable.
He is. What is a cow name? He's a good Bessie.
He's a good Bessie.
I find it artists' perspectives on like how they do these things and why they do these things really interesting, because you learn a lot about like just how people see the world, how they interpret fiction, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on. With a long-running series like Warriors, there is a lot of material to sift through, and therefore a lot of subjects to pick from, and I think like that can really overwhelm any creator. So what I want to ask is, what is your thought process in choosing these topics to discuss? Like, are you focused on what you're immediately passionate about, or are you taking in viewer input into account now that you have more of a following?
Yeah, it's definitely a mixture. I have this big Google Drive where I keep all of my scripts, script outlines, quick ideas that could be made into outlines, all that sort of stuff. Whenever I think about something myself, usually with my luck late at night, just as I'm about to fall asleep,
little demons.
Yep. Well, I guess I'm not sleeping yet. I have to write this 30-page essay on Warriors. Yay!
Little goblins banging pots and pans in your brain.
When the goblins bang their pots, I jot their notes down.
You just gotta take notes. Gotta take words.
Yeah, I usually just add the general topic and a few notes of what I was thinking about at the time, why it would make a good video, to make an outline so I'll know what I was thinking about when I write it later. And when I receive viewer requests, I pop them into my quick ideas sheet, which I also pull from to make scripts. And with those, I would put them in an additional doc, flesh them out like an outline, and go on to the script making process. Aside from the ones I've already made, I believe I have about 20 spiel outlines made at the moment. Okay. So yeah, I doubt I'll run out anytime soon.
Yeah, you have got a lot going on already.
Yeah.
Like just because you have uploaded with today about 15 videos. So do you have any favorites yet, and what was if any surprise you found in the fan reception to them?
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go look at my channel.
Like I have it open, this tab. I'm just like, I found that like I just stalk like Twitter accounts and YouTube accounts. I'm like, okay, I need to be fully prepared going into this video.
Hollyleaf's Mates will always have a strong place in my heart. It was the last video I had fully created before I posted anything. And I mean, it expresses one of my strongest passionate feelings about this world, that Hollyleaf is an asexual. Long live asexual Hollyleaf.
Canonically factual. It is 100%
absolutely
factual.
And no one can deny it.
Exactly.
So she was definitely a big one. The reception to that one was incredible because I had already been astounded by Tribe Problem's reception after Moon had posted it on her channel and sent people my way. But then the video after that actually ended up surpassing it somehow. And I was scared. It was the first time I realized, like, oh, some of these people might actually be staying and not just coming for that one video from Moon.
Exactly.
Wow.
Just like, you really drew in a lot of traffic.
Yeah. Besides that, probably Cat Death, just because it felt like the most comprehensive discussion of one of what I consider the series' biggest in-universe problems that it really needs to and will never fix. I mean, not a lot of it was happy, and there wasn't a lot we could do about it, but it was a problem I felt like I needed to address so I could ever bring it up anywhere else. It was something that needed its own video, and I'm fairly happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
I think
probably one of those two.
yeah, like, I think that's those are two really good videos. So good on you. You can know your own talent. But two is just I really found that one interesting because that is a really big problem in this series. Just I think that's the weakest element having moved forward in the series, and why I kind of am so partial to the original series and Dawn of the Clans, even because it feels like death is much more. It has a lot more feeling and impact to it, like because there's such
when you actually know the cats who are dying and they die for a purpose. Yeah,
like I think like I have never like I'm not much of one to really cry at media, and I didn't cry at this one, but I think this was the closest one to getting me to cry was the God, what's it called? The last book in Dawn of the Clans, when like in the last couple pages with Grey Wing's
Path of
death.
Stars, I think. Yeah,
Path of Stars.
I have traveled so far. Shoot, I'm messing it up. I've traveled so far and gone so something, but I'm still following the sun trail.
Yeah, I'm just like I got chills, and I'm just like I had to put it down. I'm like, oh. I think that is probably one of the most poignant deaths in the entire series, and I'm like,
absolutely.
And it's so sad because I know a lot of people never read that arc, and I'm like,
gosh darn it, read Dawn of the Clans.
Yeah, like, I think like the latter 3 books are definitely weaker, but there's so many good elements to them. Like Grey Wing's death just really affected me because I've really grown to like him as a character.
Yeah, I mean, it still has the modern team post-book 3 dip, but there's just so much to love in it. The community is so strong. So many of the characters are deep and conflicted and understandable even when they're in the wrong. It's just, oh my gosh. I'm pretty sure I have a video coming out in a few weeks about Dawn of the Clans where I just... as usual, I end up critiquing an element of it, but my first few sentences are like, okay, here's all the reason you should go read Dawn of the Clans. Read it now and ignore me. If this would in any way affect your ability to read the series, ignore me, turn me off, go read it, and then come back.
Exactly.
It's a good arc.
Honestly, like, Dawn of the Clans was actually the arc that got me back into Warriors, because, like, I didn't read Avos yet. I was just, like, I don't remember why I picked it up. I was studying for graduate school in London, and I'm just like, I think it was Five Giants, like I said, just like got me more interested.
Yeah.
And it's like, for whatever reason, I'm like, okay, fine. I'm gonna pick up where they started after Omen of the Stars, and that was Dawn of the Clans. And I ended up really loving it because it was such a much smaller cast, so that they could actually focus everything.
And because it was a whole new cast, I think that forced them to develop someone because they couldn't just fall back on old favorites. They had to take the time to figure out who these guys were.
Yeah, exactly.
They were so good.
The biggest flaw in that arc, and
females.
Yeah. It's like beyond after the post 3 book dip, it's the females, like.
It has the female problem. It also has a big case of the adoption problem because Grey Wing raises Thunder, Grey Wing raises Turtletail's kits, Grey Wing ends up raising a few more litters of kits just from being group dad, and they still say, but we need to kill off his other mate and give him a different mate who can give him biological kits because those ones are more important.
I'm just like, that was the thing that made me legitimately very upset. I'm like, you have such a great character who is literally, like, he was gonna be, like, much more of a leader, but he just, like, his disability ended up affecting that, and he had to really grow.
So beautiful.
And just, like, and he was such a good dad. And then
such a good dad.
And just, like, it was in the last 2 books, and I'm just like, why did you
I can't believe they killed Turtletail and replaced her with Slate.
Like, I thought it would be like, I wouldn't want Turtletail to die. Like, I think you could have done a lot more with her. But like, if Turtletail had to die, I wanted him to just.
You don't replace her with Slate.
Yeah, like
that's what you don't do.
Like, I just wanted him to be like, okay, I will always love her. I am going to do my best to raise her kids. I'm going to do my best to just be there for this be there for the young cats, and just like, this is my new role, and I don't have to be a fighter. I can be a strategist, and I'm just like, perfection. I Slate, you were fine, because like, I don't want to demonize a female character, but like, your purpose just bothers me.
I mean, here's the thing. Even if you absolutely felt you had to kill off Turtletail and give Grey Wing biological kits for goodness knows what reason, give Slate a gosh darn personality.
Yeah, like,
don't leave Slate as cardboard.
Just like,
oh my gosh.
Like, just like, this just came to me. She was literally a blank slate.
Slate, yes.
I hate myself for saying that, but yes.
It's perfect.
It's just, she could have been so, like, it, yeah. Again, we're getting a little off track, but just like, there's so much good content in Dawn of the Clans. I'm just like,
you're still willing to criticize it. It's not it's still Warriors. There are still problems.
Yeah, but I'm just like, Grey Wing, it will forever be one of my favorite characters in the cast. I'm just like, I loved his story, and I love the idea that I don't have to be the like leader, the big tough guy. Like, I can be more analytical, I can be more strategic, and I can just be there as a family guy. I'm like, perfect. I
particularly liked looking back at them with Secrets of the Clans in mind, because actually I think that was one of my most read books as a kid. It was the first one I bought, and I ended up reading it like over and over until I'd memorized every passage and the whole medicine cat list of herbs. And one of the things in there was that one of the original Wind Clan leaders was Grey Wing the Wise, who figured out many battle tactics and strategies for the clans to use, and is recognized as a hero even in the current day. We might not ever get that in the main series, because Secrets of the Clans might as well not exist in the main series, but it was so cute, like seeing, there's Grey Wing. He becomes Grey Wing the Wise. You're recognized, baby.
Yeah, like, and like, they actually were forced to use some of that content. Like, buddy.
It was so wonderful.
It was so good. But like, actually, this kind of does work out into my next question, because like we've been talking about, you've been making a lot of video essays. And I wanted to talk about one of your more recent essay series, which is A Trip Through Time. For the uninitiated, these videos delve into metatextual analyses of the individual books in chronological order. And I think you just released your piece on Forest of Secrets about a week ago? Yeah, it's about a week ago.
Yes.
And honestly, these videos are some of my favorites at your channel, just because like, they break down certain statistics and review how Warriors has evolved over time. And like I said, like, the first series will always be near and dear to my heart, just because of how nostalgic I am over it. And it's just really interesting seeing it broken down like that. So like, what I wanted to ask is, what inspired you to tackle this series? And can you tell me a little about what you've learned from it so far?
Definitely. It came up one day when I was doing one of those live reblogs in my friend group when we were reading one of the books. I forget which one it was. Shoot. But I had thought, wow, I get so much out of looking at these moments, and not all of them are big enough to make a cohesive string out of them, but it's interesting to note them down. And there are certain patterns that just go through these books that I wouldn't notice if I wasn't looking at them this closely. Additionally, I have a couple of friends who line counted the Howdy series a while back. I've been using that resource with their permission to funnel into my statistics book to book. And just figure out some things that I had suspected from the beginning. Like the first arc has consistently a big problem with gender disparity and line distribution. It was only just figuring out how to use other characters besides Fireheart, and it really shows.
That's fair.
I'm eventually going to make a whole retrospective on the first arc, bringing together what I've learned from the first section of Trip Through Time. But being able to go through that and notice what I had as an inkling come into focus and percentages and concretely be able to point at it and see, yes, that's what I meant, has been really helpful. In addition, it's helped me notice certain books that were better than I gave them credit for. Like Forest of Secrets was actually a huge step up in both those departments, save for the fact that it it immediately disappeared by the next book.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
There's a lot of interesting things that I hadn't actually noticed or had written into my mind that weren't actually there. Like I'm reading a little bit ahead of what I'm writing, and I noticed recently while reading Dangerous Path that Swiftpaw just doesn't ever speak before he's killed, and Brightpaw is barely a character in any book before she's killed.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that's a bit of a problem with the whole series, that other than these few main characters, Greystripe, Firestar, Tiger Star, Blue Star, they tend to only use characters when they absolutely need to. Mm-hmm. They show the event that happens to them, the fallout from the event, and then they disappear.
Snowkit is one of those characters.
Oh yeah, Snowkit did not even exist before the 4 chapters where he had his entire arc, died, and moved on. Yeah, it's like, well, why did you even introduce this character if you were going to do that?
Just a little bit more drama.
Yeah, I'll have my piece on that one when I get to Dangerous Path.
No, that is valid.
It's just really interesting going back and noticing the stories that we've drawn from these cats as opposed to what's on the page, not as a means of criticizing what's on the page, but as noticing where your ideas of cats might, and my ideas of cats, I'm not blameless in this either, might differentiate from the canon, and where other people can have different interpretations than you, and that's where a lot of the disparaging opinions on characters can come from, is where the canon stops. So being able to go back into that and see where these trends began is really interesting. I imagine as the series goes on, because it turns out there wasn't any supplemental material until the end of New Prophecy. So I imagine once that ends, I will start having a very interesting time seeing what it's like to bounce back and forth to different random time periods over and over, and see where these details were retroactively put into the plot when they never existed before when we saw that time.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting.
Yeah, like I just find that fascinating, like how you were saying, like how we perceive these characters if we haven't read the books in a while. And it's like a lot of the original cast, like the original art cast, really took on a bit of a life of their own in fans' minds, especially for folks who really don't read the series anymore, but who are just get things secondhand, like
through the creative material that is really, really good, I should say.
Yeah, like they just get it through the creative material, and like, well, I get like that, and it's just interesting just how that builds perception of characters in just the community at large. It's just kind of a very interesting phenomenon.
Stepping back a bit from this, but when I was looking at all of this and realizing I wanted to go through this, I also noticed that I would have to talk about these things for a significantly longer period of time for each book than I would for a quick Sunny Spiels. And that's where I started. Well, okay, I could try cutting my thoughts down for every book into a 8 to 12 minute section maybe, or I could just leave the darn audio at around 15 to 20 minutes and instead do a speed paint under it where I could try drawing an important scene from that book. And when I was, first of all, I just really liked that idea
it is a really
for a number
fun
of reasons. On the meta side for me, it meant I could draw stuff other than cat heads. I could do full illustrations and try my hand at that, so I don't lose all my skill in that area. And also, it gave me a chance to really go through each book and look at which scene I wanted to single out, because there are certain things like Into the Wild, you could have Fireheart and Greystripe being made warriors, you could have the battle with Broken Star, you could have his entry into the clan, and plenty of people I'm sure have drawn those. Forest of Secrets, you could have the battle against Tiger Star, you could have the revelations about the kits, plenty of very emotional scenes, and I wanted to give light to ones that are just as beautiful sometimes, but often overlooked. So like Forest of Secrets, I did Thornpaw and Brightpaw's apprentice ceremony, which was given a lot of character and interest, especially for me, considering I love both characters so much and wanted to see where they began. But
no, that makes sense.
It was given a lot of character and interest, but since it's just another scene where apprentices are made in front of the clan, it's really overlooked. I know in Rising Storm, I'm thinking of drawing the scene where Ravenpaw, Sandstorm, and Fireheart all go to get Cloudpaw back from the kitty pets. And in addition to that just being really cute and the culmination of his arc, it also, just on a meta level, gave me a chance to draw Fear. That's not something I've drawn much in this series yet.
I think that's a really, like, fun idea, especially because, like, one idea, like how you were saying, like how some of these scenes are overlooked. Like, I don't know why this one came to mind. I guess because you were just talking about Swiftpaw, but like Swiftpaw's apprenticeship and how much character is given to Longtail during his ceremony, and it's just like that bitterness from Fireheart, and it's just a really interesting little look into it.
Protective of his little boy.
Yeah, it just makes it so much more heartbreaking because you love. Like you see, like Longtail from the very beginning has a lot of concern and care about this character. So, like, even though Swiftpaw isn't like the most developed character, like you still see
the beginning and end of his journey. So you do get to imagine a lot of what's in the middle, and it's a nice thing to imagine. But like, he starts out as this wimpy little kid who can barely get through the clan looking at him at a ceremony. And then he's apprenticed to Longtail, who clearly loves him and protects him a lot. And then he eventually becomes an arrogant boaster at a gathering and someone who can't stand being left behind while his clanmates go on without him, and gets himself killed for the trouble.
Yeah, like it's just like you can really fill in the blanks because you've got like the bare bones there. I think that's the difference between a character like Swiftpaw and a character like I don't know, like Myrtlepaw. Yeah, like you have a basis and you can
have
build
something. You can imagine something,
and there's like you have enough connection to it. So like, okay, this is a very emotional thing. It's not just a blank slate.
Yeah,
there's something there.
That's actually something I care very deeply about. There's this phenomenon that creativity just comes out. That things that are creative are ones that you just push out of your head, and they're cool new ideas never before seen, pure originality. I'm sure that does happen, but a lot of creativity for a lot of people stems from taking some sort of existing base and growing off of it, adding to it, making it better than it was, or making it more personal, and/or I should say. And with someone like Myrtlepaw and Swiftpaw, with Myrtlepaw, technically it could be anything. You could create Myrtlepaw into the best character ever seen in Warriors for all you know. But Swiftpaw has a base. He has a couple of rigid attributes and events that happen to him that guide your thinking, that inspire you. And I think that's where a lot of the interest comes from.
Yeah, like, I don't know how much, like, I know you said you blogged or reblogged some stuff. I don't know if you use Tumblr at all. Because there is a artist who has been doing, like, they did a little comic about Redtail, like a very long comic, and now they started one as an AU for Swiftpaw, saying, like, okay, so what if Swiftpaw survived? How is he going to deal with all of, one, this trauma, and one, this physical trauma to his body? So, like, dealing with the mental and physical effects of it. And based, like, I haven't checked in a while, but, like, I know that it's called, I think I got it wrong before in the other video, but I think it's Swifthawk, because I'm pretty sure, like, it's going to be something with Snow Kid. And I'm like, beautiful.
That does sound absolutely amazing, and I will definitely check that out after this. Darkest Hour, not Darkest Hour, Dangerous Path in particular, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to dedicate an entire rant section to Sandstorm because she absolutely destroyed in that book. Not from a meta side, like Fireheart was just being a horrible person.
Like, that is actually one thing, like, I did notice, like, reading the series again, like, when I was in London, I'm just like, one thing that I found was interesting to, like, also contrast with later series, Fireheart has so much little anger in him. He is very angry throughout the entire arc. Like, and I think that's a trait that was really lost in later books, because he's like,
oh, it was. He's just this
temper.
He's this perfect wise leader now that can do no wrong, and it really it's a detriment to the story.
Because, like, I think it was Avalon Rosalind had a little rewrite of the New Prophecy, and, like, in one scene, she has, like, Leopard Star being a jerk, like, when they're trying to talk about it as leaders, and she basically says, like, something like, her kid, like, because Leafpaw had brought some attention to something. It's been a while, I don't remember, but basically, like, she said something, like, against her, like, kind of called her, like, an insult, and Fireheart's just like, oh, no, you don't, and just attacks her. It's like, you do not call my daughter that. And I'm like, yes, finally someone remembered. He is very easily provoked and angered, and that was really... like, that's an interesting trait you could have as a leader. Like, someone who is trying, does have a strong moral compass, but can be easily baited. Like, that's a lot of good stuff. For the record, though,
if by some miracle I was ThunderClan's leader at the time and needed to choose a deputy to replace Tigerclaw or anyone else, it wouldn't be Fireheart.
No. Like, even though he has a strong moral center, it's just like
his moral center mostly leads him to go off and do his own thing. He has a whole bunch of arcs through these books where he decides something is wrong, goes off and deals with it himself, and then comes back and says, hi clan, I did this, and the clan consistently says to him, Fireheart, you can't keep doing this. Let us in on your gosh darn plans. We might help you or tell you it's wrong. But you're just gonna go off and do it on your own. You're not working with us.
I'm like, Fireheart, buddy, you gotta learn to collaborate. Like, it's right there.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
okay. I'm so sorry. I'm having a lot of fun talking with you about this because I have not talked about the series in a while. But yeah, okay, going back to some of the questions. And this is going to a little more of a technical side. How do you tackle script writing? Like, what is your process, and how do you organize your thoughts into a cohesive, usually 10 to 20 minute video?
Yeah. I said this before, but of the skills I had to acquire quickly to start this channel, I think I actually had the easiest time with script writing. I'm already very used to argumentative essays from primarily my philosophy studies. Mm-hmm. And these videos aren't actually too far off, surprisingly. The hardest bit was figuring out how to time them, which I mostly just had to figure out through testing. That intro video was written to be exactly a page of text with paragraph breaks occasionally. And I could read it in a little over 2 minutes. So that helped me gauge the approximate length of each video while I was writing it, so I wouldn't be suddenly jumping into a 20-minute video without realizing it. As for the format, I always tend to start with an outline from that doc listing all the points I'd like to bring into the argument. Sometimes when I come back to an outline, if it's a looser one, I'll add in some more points or go look up some more evidence. to bring in. And then I start shifting them around just as their points, adding, subtracting some as necessary until I can see a through line from point to point, some sort of transition where it's a building argument. And then it's just a matter of writing the introduction, fleshing out each point, adding the transitions, writing the conclusion, and of course, editing. Reading it out loud is extremely helpful there. Do not start recording the script before you've read it out loud. There are definitely a lot of things you won't catch just by reading it.
That was like literally like the thing I was using, like, okay, so hold off for a second. I gotta finish rereading what I have so far, like all these questions. Okay. I'm not making an idiot of myself. I got the girlfriend seal of approval. I'm good. Yeah.
Often, even while I'm recording, I'll do a little bit of editing to just what seems to come out more naturally, but that's usually just a word or two or an order of phrasing or something. And I also make those edits in the script while I'm recording, just so it'll be easier when I have to subtitle later.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, but that it's the easiest of my processes.
Well, I mean, I'm glad about that because, like that was the one of the problems I've been running into because, like, I don't know if I ever explained it. Like, I have a project I want to do that is basically just a fandom retrospective. I want to see like where it began, where it is now, and just like look at every possible aspect. Like, a video, you might have seen it. It was like an hour long recently. Yeah. It came out like a month ago. You know what I'm talking about, right? Like, it was a fandom retrospective. And I'm like, I really like that, but I want to go deeper. I want to go way deeper. Because, like, I actually know the community very well, even though
absolutely no offense to that creator. It just felt like it would be more useful to someone who was outside the community. It didn't necessarily provide stuff for people who already knew the world of Warriors well.
Yeah, like, I really like her videos just because, like, it's
absolutely.
a lot of good stuff there. Like, I have no idea what this is about. I'm suddenly watching an hour-long video about my littlest pet shop.
It's a great jumping off point. Yes, absolutely.
Exactly. But, like, I want to do something that's for the community that really explores, okay, this is where we started and this is where we're now. Because, like, I am from Neopets era, like, roleplay days. Like, I have been here since the very beginning. I have seen a lot of stuff change. And, like, I did dip off for a few years, but, like, it's just been amazing seeing so much talent accumulate. And I really want to not only go into, like, the artistic side, but, like, really talk about the analytical side. Like, folks like you, Bright Guardian Akira, she's more of mixmash. Mishmash.
Mixed media.
Ugh, words. But she has more a variety, but like a lot of, there's not so many analysis videos. And like, that's one of my favorite things to listen to in terms of Warriors. And
if it wasn't apparent already, I too like Warriors analysis.
just a bit. I think that's
just a tad. I mean, it's a casual interest.
Exactly. Like, I will be, the folks I talk to about it regularly, they stopped reading years ago. They have no idea what's going on, so I just like torment them with, okay, so did you know that Ashfur can now suddenly just summon the spirits of the damned and torture cats? Did you know that? Now you do.
It's amazing.
I'm just like, it's fun listening to someone really, like, who's passionate about a subject, really talk about it and break it down. So I think that's a very valid, very interesting part of the community that kind of gets brushed away because, like, there's so much visual content, and I think that's really cool, but I also want to give like a balance to it. And there's just like, there's so much history. I'm like, okay, this is too long already. So I'm just like, okay, just gonna go with the interviews. That sounds like a more sizable thing to work on.
If I have any place at all in which to give you advice, which I don't necessarily, but it's really just a matter of categories within categories. Just take up every piece of information you could ever want to put in this video, splat it into a doc or an Excel spreadsheet, whatever you feel like, and sort it. just say, this is all the things that make me feel this way, this is the things that make me feel this way, so on and so forth. Within that, say, here's a particular point or topic within this topic, split all those up into tiny little pieces and say, is there an order here? Can I make sense of this madness? As an idea, and it is occurring to me now that no one who listens to this will be able to see this, but this is the Paws of Stars, the top part of the drive I have for it. Basically, every book has its own folder with the allegiances and chapters and chapter outlines. And then also down there, I have all of the allegiances and notes for the entire series. Further down, I have chapter divisions between characters to make sure they're even, lists of residents in the Dark Forest, random notes to include about relationships and mentorships and friend groups and everything. But just having it all there neatly categorized is very soothing.
Yeah, but actually, like what you were saying earlier about Paws of Stars, that actually fits perfectly into like my next question. So about changing gears. So right now, you're in the process of rewriting The Power of Three, and recently you released the first chapter of the third book, Inferno. So, what initially interested you in Paws of Stars, and why were you specifically drawn to the third arc?
I've said this plenty of times now, but Omen of the Stars was, always will be, still is my favorite arc. Not because I particularly like the way the story went, or because I think it's the best literature even Warriors has to offer, but because there was just so many ideas. I really love the idea of this high-stakes battle intertwined with destiny and the revisiting of every antagonist of the past, maybe even before the clans have started telling their stories in the first arc. I love nearly every character in that arc and Power of Three, both for how unique all of them are as individuals and how much they feel like a community together in a way no other generation has, for me at least, in a main series. Every time I read Omen of the Stars, past and present, I see more flaws, but in them, like with Swiftpaw, there's these jumping off points, the ways the story could go, new gems of information that could be really important and cool, but which were afterthoughts in the canon. So I've basically been working on Paws of Stars in my head since I first read the series, but I obviously didn't start working on it seriously until last year. For making it a combined series, I realized pretty quickly that if I wanted the Omen of the Stars part of the plot to have any chance of success, I needed a more solid foundation in Power of Three, and honestly, the chance to write that arc's cast into a fluid community that would work well in Omen of the Stars, full of my favorite characters, was one I couldn't pass up. Anyway, I just love every one of those knuckleheads so much.
Yeah, I think one of the best things, like Power of Three and like Omen of Stars has a lot of problems, but there's also a lot of characterization. Like Jay Feather is one of the most, like, love him or hate him, he has probably the most character out of any of the protagonists. Like
easily, yeah.
He really sticks out in your mind because you remember him. Like, yeah, because it's just like he's an archetype that's not very usual to the series, and also he sticks with it the entire time. It's not like the anxiety of Outer Heart or the seizures and stuff with Shadow Sight. It's like he is acerbic, he is bitter, and he's gonna be a little brat. And he's
a little brat who also really, really cares about and aggressively cares about his clanmates staying safe and alive, and will work to his absolute hardest with the miraculous talent he has to save them multiple times. It's love that guy. I love Jay
Feather. Like I want to kick him sometimes when I like reread certain things.
Oh no, I mean, understandable.
He has the most character out of any of them. But unfortunately, like I haven't really had time to really read through the project between working and moving the past month. But I did scan the first few chapters of Paws of Stars and noticed something pretty interesting to me. Because like most rewrites I've seen, like Tennille Flowers comes off the top of the head. are completely rewritten from scratch. But you've chosen basically to act as both writer and editor. So much of what I read was lifted from the site directly, interspersed with a lot of new moments and reorganization. So why did you decide to tackle the project specifically like this instead of just like going, okay, I'm just going to rewrite this entire thing. I don't want to deal with you.
Yeah, I've really tried to never market myself fully as a writer because that's not quite what I'm doing. There are plenty of chapters, and there will be more in the future, that I've written completely from scratch with no canon material involved. And I've never made a chapter where I didn't add something of my own, but I didn't want to throw out everything from canon. Those moments and characterization bits that sparked my head while I was reading and got me to think about these new directions for the story in the first place were really good and important if I wanted to tell this new story. So I wanted to include them while adding things to support them and make them more important later on. If anything, my biggest goal in writing Paws of Stars was to show that what Power of Three and Omen of the Stars could have been, working with the Foundation and general ideas that were already on the table. Mm-hmm. Now, admittedly, there are some pretty significant lore and theme changes later on that I am positive none of the Aarons would have ever put into their story, but I had to add a bit of myself in this.
I mean, just to be fair, like the thing that, again, that makes it different is that you have a passion for it, like where it's not just another paycheck. It's like you have a lot of passion for it, and that just shows like, okay, I have so much more time.
Not getting paid.
But you could be working partners. Yeah. Just working partners. You got someone right here, very willing to give you ideas, but but no, that's a really interesting way to tackle it because like I do remember like I think like the reason I like realized, even though I haven't read the site in a while, is like J. Pa's line, let's just hope a tree falls on all us disabled characters. I'm like, I remember that line specifically, and I'm like, that was a very good, very bratty little line. I'm like,
yeah,
that was a very good characterization for him.
If I was writing a Sharp AU or Canon Divergent type thing, I probably would just start from scratch and write all my own stuff, but it is canon divergent, but it's not canon divergent at one point. It's the death of 1,000 scratches. Little by little, I want to change the story from what it was and make it into what it could be. So it definitely gets more and more different as you go on with all the differences I've accumulated. Mm-hmm. But J. Paw definitely starts out as J. Paw because he's beautiful, and his first few chapters were something really engaging in the site.
Yeah, it's just like you want to smack him, but like you get why he's so frustrated. Yeah, like I think it's canon adjacent, canon parallel.
Canon adjacent? Yeah, I'm not sure if there's a word for it, but canon adjacent works well.
Yeah, I get what you're talking about. Just like I want to see like how this product, which has a lot of good elements, can actually reach its full potential. And I really like that. Like, I know you said to me on Discord that you have not watched Teniel's video because you don't want to, like, inadvertently copy any ideas, which I think is interesting. Yeah. Very valid. I just wanted to...
Though I will actually be watching it soon-ish because the half of Paws of Stars that has any basis in Power of Three is about to conclude.
Okay, so yeah. No, that makes sense.
I will be watching it soon, but I haven't yet.
No, that makes sense. But like the reason I bring that up is because Teniel is interesting because he wanted to do something very similar in that he didn't want to make changes because he's just like, just throw the baby out with the bathwater. He wanted it like, I really think this story had potential, and I want to do something where I make this story work as well as it can with the elements it has. I'm like, there's changes, yeah, but like, both you and he both had this idea of, I want to nurture like this story, put a lot of thought and effort into making what I think this art could have been, because all of the potential is there. It just never really flourished. And I think that's really, really good.
I honestly think that this exact thing that I am doing could be done with any arc in Warriors, especially the recent ones, because they give you such strong jumping off points and such horrible endings, that you really could just go in with the basis of the story and say, okay, but I'm going to write it the way it should be. And you could make it beautiful.
Yeah, like, I think you are 100% valid on that, because, like, there's so much good stuff. Like, Lost Stars, like, was a huge, like, it made a lot of people get really interested in the series
again. It shook the fandom. I loved it.
Yeah, it was like everyone started getting really, really interested in it again. I'm just like, there's so much good stuff there. You just need to tweak it and make sure it just stays the same.
Stays on track.
Yeah. Instead of just kind of devolving into talking in circles or Bristlefrost in general.
I mean, as far as the describing phase, it's actually really easy because nearly everyone, when they're criticizing these books, can think of better ways to do it, can think of better ways the story could go. The issue then comes down to, okay, when you're actually writing it, what's the flow you want? What's the buildup? Where do you want these characters to come in? What do you want all of them to do? Do they function well as a community? What is your daily life like in between the two really important scenes you have for this book? I think everyone should, if they have the time and the will, go out, pick an arc they like, jot down some things they want to change about it, and start their own gosh darn project, because it's fun.
Yeah, okay. The thing I have talked about sometimes with some friends is just like, I think one of the reasons the Warriors community has been so thriving, like, one, the artistry, like, obviously, but two, in just terms of discussion, is that, and I guess in the artistry, it's just like, there is a level of mediocrity that kind of works to Warriors' favor, because, like, there's a lot of books out there where you, like, I love this book, I can't really think of anything to improve it, I'm, like, maybe stories outside it, but, like, it's there, and you can be very passionate about it, but, like, it's not always going to be, like, stick with as many people just because you personally like it. But the mediocrity of Warriors is like, so many people are like, I want to make this better. Like, there's so many
spaces they've opened, the potential they've lost, all of this just gives way to more creativity and people who want to finish it.
Yes, exactly.
And, that's a fandom for you. You've got them.
Yeah, I'm like, it's like, when you get, like, a really, really perfect story, like, you're gonna love it, of course. But, like, if the fandom isn't as thriving, like, as alive. Alive. That's the word.
Well, that's the thing. When you have something so perfect and amazing, you just go, wow, that's beautiful. And maybe you'll turn to a couple people and say, go look at this thing. It's beautiful. And they'll agree, wow, that's beautiful. And the discussion is over. Maybe you can point out a couple of things that you particularly liked about it, but it's done. You have experienced this great thing and it is over. With Warriors, it feels like it never ends because we never fully reach our potential. We never fully flesh out these characters. We have such a large world that you can do anything in it, so we'll never run out of stories. And you can just keep exploring it and never reach the ground.
Exactly. Like, there's so much there, and because it never reaches that potential, there's, like, basically an internal, like, frustration. Like, I love this for what it is. I want it to be so much more. And that inspires, like, so much role play, so much discussion, so much analysis, so much
because how do you want it to be better? Do you want to fix this particular thing? Do you want to critique it? Do you want to go and make your own gosh darn clan and characters?
Exactly.
It's so good.
Yeah, like Clouded Moon, like, I think is, like, the perfect example of, like, it's born from a frustration, like, I want this to be better. I want to tell my own story.
Going back to, I think they started with first arc's comprehension of StarClan.
Yeah.
When they were still StarClan battles, and it was a much more distant relationship with StarClan and far more in-depth clans that were differentiated, had different cultures and communities, cared about the land. And they got to build all of that from scratch, just using the Warriors world at first and then their own.
Yeah. It's
really beautiful.
Yeah, I'm just like, I very much respect the Clouded Moon team, and just like, I'm so excited about Starcat Studio in general, just because, like, this was something like, I want this to be better. I have so much inspiration from this. I'm going to make my own story and make it my own and make it something I'm passionate about. And I love that because it's so inspiring. And it's like just the first episode, it's amazing. Like,
oh my gosh, I was surprised the community managed to do it that fast.
Yeah, it was like a year's worth, I think, of just like continual like actual animation. Like, I was not expecting them to actually like have the lip sync so well. Like, I was like,
oh my gosh,
like, that's such an extra effort. Like, I kind of
had all these adorable little moments that gave more character in just the animation without any voice acting at all. It's just
yeah, I think that's like a big part of that is three of the four directors are primarily animators / artists. So, like, they very much want to focus and hone in on that. And I love seeing that visual representation.
Respect the heck out of them for it.
Love it. But going a little backwards in time, basically going back to Paws of Stars, without revealing too many spoilers, of course, where do you really plan on taking the arc and its protagonist? Like, the original work suffered from a severe lack of direction, and yet it wasn't really able to fully commit to a disconnected, albeit enjoyable, slice of life structuring either. So, like, are you planning on developing a more consistent plotline to connect the books from one to the next? Or alternatively, do you think you're going to double down on a slice of life retelling? Like, this is a little bit ignorant on my part just because I have not read the rest of the two books, but I'm very curious on your thoughts.
No trouble. I definitely want to do a more plot-driven story all the way through, just to build up to Omen of the Stars' best elements. But I plan to have the speed of action and the threat level increase gradually as the story goes on, so we can start with the slice of life. Well, both because our heroes are going through their full lives, which I would hope are more full of more than just threats to their lives all the time.
There's an actual reason this community has lasted.
Yes, we care about each other sometimes, and also because it gives me a chance to work on some of the relationships and character stories that made Power 3 so special before I jump straight into the big mythical action-heavy Omen of the Stars bits. Mm-hmm. The level of danger and action in the Omen of the Stars half would really be nothing without a reason to care about the characters endangered by the conflict. So I want to make sure that the characters are still worth caring about, that you care when they are in danger, that you care if they die. Mm-hmm. As you said, I can't reveal too many spoilers, but given that I am pretty positive that the third book will be out by the time this comes out, I will say that my version of the story has a solid reason for the lore surrounding the Dark Forest, Darkland, and the Three's powers. And while some of the bits of the answer have already been given at this point, the biggest clues to the answer will be coming out with the book after the one that's coming out very, very soon. The fourth book, which will be called Founder's Pact. And I will, I mulled over this for a very long time, but I will be including a tiny bit of the throwaway tribe stuff with intention. I've made it matter. I know there are some people who shied away from Power 3 and Omen of the Stars in general because of the wacky supernatural things they introduced, and I'm admittedly not shying away from that. There is a lot of supernatural stuff going on. The three do have superpowers. Jayfeather will be time traveling. The Dark Forest and StarClan will be trying to battle it out with their various lore rules. But I've tried to make it all comprehensible and matter to the plot.
I mean, like, that is the most important element. Like, if they had made it matter, it wouldn't be so, how to phrase it? Like, I think honestly, like, Moon Kitty said it best in her I Spoil Long Shadows video. Just like, the problem is immersion, the lack of immersion.
Yeah.
Like, if you make this stuff matter and you make it like such more of a natural progression and not something just like, oh, here we go now. Like, people will be much more receptive because, like, we were receptive to Nine Lives. receptive to a lot of things, but like people draw the line at like Yellow Fang physically manifesting to help Leaf Pool give birth. Like that's a bit of a that's a hill some people are going to die on.
Long Shadows in particular, I didn't realize until I started rereading it for Paws of Stars, but it exemplifies like every problem the arc has. It's made up of 3 tiny sliver plots, 2 of which are finished in the congruent books, rather than actually being stories in their own right within Long Shadows. We have the beginning finishing up the soul plot from Eclipse. The midsection is a green cough bout, briefly interrupted by Jay Feather time traveling to the Ancients to just say hi and send them to the mountains. And then in the end, randomly, with no warning, there's just a fire scene now and enormous family drama and hi, okay, I guess we're here now. And we won't get back to that until the end of Sunrise.
Yeah, I'm just like, that. Like, I have not read those books in a very long time, but like, after watching Moon's videos, I'm like, wow, was it really that sudden? Because like everyone remembers it, but they don't remember everything around it.
They don't remember the context. They assume from just piling it up over time that there must have been some buildup, right? It's just that we only talk about the fire scene. No, there wasn't any buildup. It just happened. Okay, well.
Yeah, like they had a little build-up with Ashfur being visually off. Like he's visibly off throughout the entire arc.
Yes.
But like that's not enough. It's not enough to like, okay, now he is all
we know is something is wrong with Ashfur, and one day he might yell at Squirrel Flight in the middle of a clan meeting. What we're not expecting is, forest fire? Oh, we're dying? Oh, okay, I guess we're not her kids. Do we care about this? I don't remember.
And then it was like retroactively, or maybe not. It's weird, just like him trying to help Hawk Frost kill Firestar. Like, I don't know if that's retroactive because he was there. Like, he did do that.
It was briefly hinted at. It was never explained. But given what Vicky and Kate have said since about their planning for Power of Three, and they're planning about it since the end of New Prophecy, I can believe that Ashfur helping Hawk Frost was part of their intention. I don't think at the time they knew what they were going to do with it, why he helped, other than I don't like Brambleclaw, or what he was going to do with it when POT comes, which it turns out pretty much nothing.
No.
He revealed it and no one did anything about it. Great.
I'm just like the scene is a very good scene. It's such a establishing moment. I know that's why Vicky Holmes was like, this is going to be the inspiration for an arc. But
yeah,
I'm like,
absolutely.
Yes, you made it too late. You only have to. You have just
one book to figure it out.
Yeah, you faffed about for like 5 books.
Yeah. Because I'm working with Power of Three and Omen of the Stars, fusing it into one arc, I did have the luxury of planning out Omen of the Stars ahead of Power of Three. So I got to use the fire scene as the jumping off point for Omen of the Stars in general. Hollyleaf's story specifically is concluded by the end of the book with the fire scene. But the story in general will have repercussions for the rest of the arc because it should. This is important stuff.
This is a big event, and you did nothing with it.
Mention it again. Have the brothers gosh darn talk. If they're not talking, explain why. Give me something.
It's like, you just want some little morsels. Like, please, sir, could I have some more?
Please.
Oh, God. But I think so far I have hit almost all of the points I wanted to hit. Your fandom history, the inner workings of the channel, and just your work in fan fiction in general. And with everything we've talked about here, was there anything you wanted to elaborate on, or just any thoughts on the series and community as a whole that we didn't go over?
Not that we didn't go over, but I just want to reiterate, I'm so proud of you guys all the time.
Exactly. Like, the community is so cool. Like, I love how
it's vibrant and lively wherever you go. You're all so talented and dedicated.
Exactly. Like, there's a lot of problems. Like, every fandom has its problems. But, like, it's just so fascinating to me to see so much inspiration, and just taken like over so many years and really building like into someone who you are as an adult. Like, so I've seen several like animators like Finchwing comes to mind, like people who started out just like doing this for fun, and it became an actual profession for them. They're actually employed as an animator, and I'm like, that is so cool. Your hobby became like something you loved, like became something you love to do, and it became something you actually do at work, and it really defined who you are as a person, and that is amazing to me, and really something I really haven't seen with any other real fandom. Like, definitely fandoms like affect people, but like it's just fascinating to see me like, okay, like this is my inspiration for being an animator. Like, and that's not like because you saw a TV series or a movie. It's because you read a book and you're like, you saw this wonderful community and you're like, I'm going to build off this. I'm going to get involved and gonna try to work on this project with people. And
and it's possible that that happens sporadically in other fandoms, but we actually have a lot of them. Like, there are so many people that got into this series as kids and started working on their craft and became highly qualified artists, writers, animators, and went on to make that their profession. It's a staggering number.
Exactly. And it's so amazing to me. And that's why I just have so much love for this community. Like, yes, it has its problems, but like, I don't
Everyone
think
does.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think I've ever really seen so many people come together out of love, like a love-hate relationship with this series, and like build so much from it. And I just think that is really cool to me. And that's why I love talking about this fandom, because I think it's really cool. But okay, so I think that about wraps it up then. Thank you so much for coming on, Sunny. Like, it has been a blast
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, like it has been a blast getting to talk Battle Cats with you.
I had fun talking with you.
So like, as y'all can see, the fandom, I think, is pretty darn cool. And Sunny is just one of the many people who make it special. So have a fantastic day, guys, and I hope to hear from y'all soon.